So far this week, both Dolly Parton and Tim Curry have died, and it's just now Wednesday. What the fuck? Do you think God's confusing the 80-year-olds that we want to have dead? Yeah, me too. We'll come back to Dolly in a minute, but the story I want to talk to you about today is buried deep inside the Philadelphia Inquirer, and I think it's important for you to know. The story that drew my attention is on page A5. Let's just scroll down a little bit. U.S. officials propose sale of woke Wiley painting. Let's take a look at what Zachary Small from the New York Times has to say in this report. The State Department wants to sell a painting by celebrated artist Kehinde Wiley that the director of its art and embassies program called very woke and aesthetically terrifying. It was removed from the U.S. Embassy in the Dominican Republic last week. The painting by Wiley, who rose to fame after being selected to create President Barack Obama's official portrait. I wonder if Trump's even hung up that portrait or he has it covered. I can't remember, but I seem to think he hasn't even bothered to hang up the damn picture at this point. Features 4 Dominican models against a floral backdrop. It was commissioned by the federal government in 2013 and paid for with taxpayer dollars. Like all of them are. State Department officials removed the painting from the embassy last week after first hiding it behind a tarp designed with an image of the American flag. For those of us of a certain age, we can remember a certain attorney general back in the George Bush or George Bush II era who covered up the breast of Lady Justice because it was offensive to him. This kind of rings as the same thing. Aaron Scavino, the director of art and embassies, criticized Wiley's painting in a recent podcast interview and pointed out the artist's connection to Obama. Lea Campos, the U.S. ambassador to the Dominican Republic and one of Arizona State University's best graduates, I'm sure, celebrated its removal on social media with a video playing the rock anthem, "We're Not Gonna Take It," writing that the painting was an example of, quote, globalist and woke ideologies. I wonder if Lea realizes that the rock anthem, "We're Not Gonna Take It," is sung by a band who supports trans rights and was forefront in the battles during the Tipper Gore days of fighting censorship and labels on records. I don't even know if they go back that far. She maybe not even alive then. I don't know. Neither elaborated on what she found objectionable. In a statement on Monday about the removal of the painting, a State Department spokesperson did not directly address the artwork. The statement said criticized comments Wiley had made in 2023 about his Judith and Holofernes painting, which he described as a play on the Kill Whitey thing. It also cited accusations of sexual assault that Wiley has denied. Okay, I don't know anything about the sexual assault allegations, and frankly, as a recovering literary theorist, once the book is written, once the art is released, it doesn't matter. The author no longer matters. If you guys have heard more about this sexual assault thing, leave me a comment tell me about it in the comments so I can go look it up. I honestly don't know. But the thing I want to draw your attention to is that what they're talking about here is not even the painting they took down. It's some other piece of work that he did. Quote, "The work of an individual with such violent and racist words and depictions has no place in the America First State Department," the spokesperson said. I guess they've also renamed the State Department, just like they did the Department of Defense. The statement said the State Department is determining whether it can legally sell the painting of Dominicans, which is titled Young Artist After Siamesis 1960. Imagine having a painting in an embassy in the Dominican Republic that depicts Dominicans. That's fucking woke. Quote, "If that is feasible," the spokesperson said, "it would be the goal of art and embassies to proudly do so." And then we'll go down a little further. Virginia Shore, who commissioned the Wiley painting, established many of the embassy art collections as director of acquisitions and chief curator of the Art and Embassies program between 2000 and 2017. She described the work as nonpartisan and said there was no precedent for selling embassy artworks. "Calling this woke is difficult for me to understand," she said. This is a program validated and financially backed under Bush. There's a science of building trust and empathy across borders. And then it goes on to say that Wiley had received some awards from the State Department in 2015, blah, blah, blah. This year, Scavino claimed to have gotten an ambassador in Bucharest, Romania, fired over satanic baby art, though the diplomat's departure was reported as a planned retirement. She also selected a friend with no curatorial experience to serve as the commissioner of the U.S. Pavilion at the Venice Biennale, bypassing normal procedures. In July, Scavino organized an exhibition in Washington that aimed to make art great again, with nearly 70 versions of the American flag on display. In a statement about the removed Wiley painting, Campos, the U.S. ambassador to the Dominican Republic, said, quote, "It is my intention that everything we project from U.S. Embassy Santo Domingo, including the art and decor, reflect the beauty, strength, and commitment to liberty of the United States of America and its people." That's what she said That's what she said to the press. But then online, she had a stronger perspective. "Under the Trump administration and my leadership, we are leaving behind globalist woke ideologies to embrace instead American patriotism and the beauty of our great country." She ended the sentence with an emoji of the American flag. Fuck, where do we even start? The removal of this painting is part of the larger effort by the diaper-wearing PDF in the White House, Donald Trump, that all stems from Executive Order 14253. And that executive order seeks to restore America's greatness. Let's take a closer look. A bunch of crap. So the Vice President, in consultation with the Assistant to the President for Domestic Policy and the Special Assistant to the President and Senior Associate Staff Secretary, shall work to effectuate the policies of this order through his role at the Smithsonian Board of Regents with respect to the Smithsonian Institution and its museums, education, and research centers, and the National Zoo, including by seeking to remove improper ideology from such properties, and shall recommend to the President any additional actions necessary to fully effectuate such policies. Goes on to say here that in Section 3, the Secretary of the Interior shall provide sufficient funding as available to improve the infrastructure of Independence National Historical Park, which shall be complete by July 4th, 2026, the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. What that amounted to here in Philly was that they took down any references to the slave history that this country has. They whitewashed Independence National Historic Park. So now you go there, there's no story about the slaves that lived there, but you can see where they slept and where they worked because they excavated that stuff like 20 years ago, I think it is. But here's the part that gets me the most. Section 4, Restoring Truth in American History. The Secretary of the Interior shall determine whether, since January 1st, 2020, public monuments, memorials, statues, markers, or similar properties within the Department of the Interior's jurisdiction have been removed or changed to perpetuate a false reconstruction of American history, inappropriately minimize the value of certain historical events or figures, or include any other improper partisan ideology. I wonder what improper partisan ideology means here. In Section 2, take action to reinstate the pre-existing monuments, memorials, statues, markers, or similar properties as appropriate and consistent with 43 U.S.C. blah, blah, blah. What he's talking about there is that he wants the damn monuments that the ladies of the Confederacy worked so hard to make sure went up to ensure that black people knew that they were still slaves in the South. I mean, how else do you explain all these fucking statues of people who fucking lost? They're losers. The Confederacy is a bunch of fucking losers. And then there was another part in here I want to get to. Where was it, Rob? Here you go. Take action as appropriate and consistent with applicable law to ensure that all public monuments, memorials, statues, markers, or similar properties within the Department of the Interior's jurisdiction do not contain descriptions, depictions, or other content that inappropriately disparage Americans past or living, including persons living in colonial times, and instead focus on the greatness of the achievements and progress of the American people, or with respect to natural features, the beauty, abundance, and grandeur of the American landscape. So a couple things here, Donnie, while you're getting your diaper changed. Tell Ivanka I said hi, and tell the human printer that she can keep running after your golf cart as much as she wants, as soon as you're in prison. But when you talk about the achievements and progress, Donnie, are you talking about the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850? Are you talking about the Indian Removal Act? Are you talking about the Alien and Sedition Acts? Which ones are you talking about, Donnie? Are we not allowed to talk about those? Can we not talk about Japanese internment? Can we not talk about the fact that you skipped out on the Vietnam War and left it to working class stiffs like my father and uncles to go to war to fight for your fucking father, who was a... At this point, you might be wondering what was so offensive about this painting that they had to take it down after covering it with an American flag because it was so offensive. Well, there it is. There's the painting they took down as being woke. What's woke about this, Donnie? The fact that you have two women standing up holding each other's hands instead of the hands of their male friends that are sitting down beside them? Is that what's woke? Is that what is offending the fuck out of you? I don't get it. Somebody in the comments tell me. How is this painting representative of a woke ideology? How is it anti-American? How is it anything that they've described it as? Even today, the day after Dolly Parton died, Donald Trump went out and was quoted as saying that Dolly Parton was really a big fan of his. She wasn't, dude. She turned you down twice when you offered her a Congressional Medal of Honor. She stood for nothing that you and your fascist, white supremacist little fucking sycophants want to do to this country. And instead of leaving on an angry note, I'm going to leave you with a little reminder, Donnie. This is what Dolly Parton stood for. Rest in peace, Queen.
And as Mama sewed, she told a story from the Bible she had read about a coat of many colors Joseph wore, and then she said, I just hope this coat will bring you good luck and happiness. And I just couldn't wait to wear it, and Mama blessed it with a kiss. My coat of many colors that my mama made for me was made only from rags, but I wore it so proudly. And although we had no money, I was rich as I could be in my coat of many colors that Mama made for me.